Welcome back to the Neurospiritual Awakening podcast. I am your host, Dr. Val. As always, keen to interview another one of my very special guests, Sean Dobra. Welcome to the show.
Yes, thanks, Val, for inviting me to be a part of the show.
Absolutely. So thrilled for having you on and piquing your brain about your flavor of the awakening process. And just before I let you introduce yourself, oh yeah, a little memo. I let my people introduce themselves. I'll just give a little bit of a background on because we know each other. Some of my guests actually don't know, and it's like the first time I have a conversation with them is on the podcast. But you and I have had a couple of conversations prior to this. I just want to let the listeners know that Sean Dobra is someone that I've known for a couple of years, and he invited me to be part of this amazing documentary that just premiered recently. And that's how I know him, basically. And I went through the neurospiritual awakening process shortly after that interview. So now I'm no longer the same person as before. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say. And thank the listeners for listening, as always. Liking, sharing, subscribing to the pod. You never know whose life you'll make a difference to. But Sean, welcome and please introduce yourself.
Okay, so my name's Sean Dobra. I'm a Melbourne-based filmmaker, and I'm also a writer and a director. And I run a business as well called the Natural Therapy Institute, which does masterclasses in natural therapy and live events and things like that. And now I'm also taking on another role, which I just do on the side, which is elation coaching. So helping people to transform themselves, to transform their way that they view the world so that they can have more joy and elation in their lives. And that's come as a result of doing this book called The Cocoon, which helps people discover the joy that's within them.
My goodness, I had no idea about the last part. So this is cool. This is news to me. And again, I'm just really keen to learn more and hear more about your life and your process. So we can start at the beginning if you want. This will be very new to me. But just let me in on how did it all start? Or I know sometimes it's like a wave, right? It doesn't always just like bang, I'm awakened. But what happened for you? What's your kind of take on maybe what caused the awakening for you?
That is a very interesting question because I feel like I can't remember when I wasn't necessarily awakened in terms of open-minded, at least, to a whole nother world, a whole nother reality to the one that we see. But I was certainly very, very depressed when in my younger days, in like 17, 16, I got into drugs. Life got pretty bad. And I got handed a few books, and some of those books just started to open me up and change me. So I really feel, I also got, I remember late at night watching those infomercials. I got connected to Tony Robbins when I was like 16, 17. I started to listen to some of the stuff he was saying, who I think is quite connected to the whole awakening process as well. And from there, I just continued my journey, but I didn't really have a total transformation until about 30. And when I say that, I mean, like I understood a lot of this awakening stuff, but I feel like I actually shifted at 30 in terms of I went from a person who was quite depressed a lot of the time internally. Not that I expressed it, I expressed a lot of joy, but internally I was very heavy and negative. And then something shifted and I became filled with joy. And I guess you could say from a spiritual perspective, filled with the grace of the universe, of God, or whatever you like.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And thanks for sharing that it wasn't like a one hit wonder per se. And that is what a lot of my interviewees say, is that it starts and then sometimes it stops or it transforms. And then there's these waves and they come and go. And then there's a big bang. And then you think that's it. And then there's another layer. And, and then there's what's coming, right? There's
Yeah,
like
it's like a
what's ahead of us. What
continuous cycle. Yeah. But I did have a big bang moment. But I'd say, there's that saying like, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry wood. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry wood. And I was chopping wood and carrying wood all the way up to some of my biggest breakthroughs. And my biggest one was definitely at 30. when I completely shifted.
Yeah.
But before that, but it was a process of building up there, of continuously learning and discovering and opening the mind until it just popped.
Mm. And I acknowledge you for being 17, 18, depressed and being open to even reading a book, I think is quite an endeavor because when you're in that state, where you're so internal, even though to the outside world it may not seem that way, but the default mode network, which is one of the neuroscientific terminology here that I bring into the podcast, when it's overly active and the self-referential thoughts are just there, and there's nothing like it when you're in it. Um, but being in that state and still being handed a book and being willing to read it, like there's something inside of you that is willing to see the light or unfuck yourself, for the lack of a better expression.
Yeah, I think that's a really important part because it's like grace often brings us someone into our lives or brings something into our lives as like an opportunity to have an expansion, which is really to have an upgrade in life. And, when that comes, there's this kind of key moment where you can say yes or you can say no. And for me, the understanding is every time you say no to that, you kind of sink a little bit deeper into unconsciousness, which then creates a life that gets a little bit kind of darker and darker and darker. But every time you sense that grace and you say yes, even when it's like, reading a book is something difficult at the age of 15, but you say yes anyway, it kind of opens you up and you start to move in that other direction. And I was just lucky. I was lucky for that first book that I had a teacher who really cared about me. I was a terrible student. I was really hard on my teachers. I was bad. But she saw something in me and she stopped me after class one day when I was like 15. And I'd never read a book up until this point, really. Like I'd read bits of books, but I hadn't really completed a book. And she handed me this book called Think Big by Ben Carson, Dr. Ben Carson. And she just said, look, I really want you to read this. And the way she said it, the kind of twinkle and love in her eyes, I just decided to read it and trust her. And I read it and it just kind of opened up a journey from there.
So good. And when you were sharing that, it sparked something in my mind, right? There's these people sometimes that we meet along the way, and it's happened to me recently, maybe because I'm more attuned to it or aware of it, or I don't really care why ultimately. But they're like send angels. They're like angels. Literally, I see them as angels. I know we're getting a bit woo, but I am woo. So they're like angels. I'm like, wow, this is God source universe literally presenting, like interrupting my trajectory and giving me the opportunity to take an alternate route. That's how I see it. And it's becoming like more and more palpable in my life. When something, because sometimes we wait for like, oh, I know, listen, I've interviewed a lot of people, like mediums, people that see paranormal activity, people that see auras, all that kind of stuff, right? So there's that part. But what I'm saying is it doesn't necessarily have to be this paranormal thing. It could be a person like your teacher right there at that time, which is like God source universe handing you this opportunity of like, well, which way do you want to go here, buddy?
Yeah, and saying yes leads you on the next path of your journey. But I mean, ultimately, you get to a point where it's like, what do you really want? What are we here for? What do we want to create with this experience that we have called life? And there's so much, I think the more that we learn, in fact, I know the more that we learn, the more we realize that we've got more power than what we were taught. And as we start to understand that more, our beliefs change so we can actually access that power, because the only thing standing in the way of our full power is our beliefs and our thoughts about this kind of structured reality. And reality is structured to kind of give us a feedback loop, but all the power actually lies outside that feedback loop, which is
Mm.
kind of the sense of faith. You have to kind of believe in something before you see it to expand your own power.
Yes, yes. It's been a massive topic recently in my life is what you said is not just basing my, I don't know, experience or even commentary, or if you will, around what's right in front of me. And it's easier said than done because, listen, we do live in the 3D. Like here we are, and I'm sitting on a table on a chair kind of thing. And
Yeah.
I'm a neuroscientist. Like, give me the facts, give me
I
the
was going to
evidence.
say, I feel like someone with your background, it's almost even more challenging because you're trained in the sense, from my understanding, to look at facts and look at logic, and not saying that's a bad thing, but this is outside of logic. You know, you could build a logical case around it, but you can never build evidence to the intangible, because the intangible can't be seen. It can only be
Yeah.
experienced.
Yes, yes. And of course there is the attempts to see the intangible. I don't know if you've read that book, Hands of Light, which is like Barbara, I don't know what her last name is. I keep mentioning that book on this podcast because it literally bridges science and spirituality in such a beautiful way. But she ultimately was like a physicist for NASA and then started seeing a guide and auras and completely shifted directions and then brought a science to the whole thing. And I really love that book, of course, because I'm a spiritual neuroscientist, right? I really like to back the spiritual auras and energies and ethers back with reality and not reality, back to the 3D reality that we perceive, which is a tiny, minute portion of what's really out there. That's clear for me too. But if, listen, I know that I am a neuroscientist. However, I'm also I'm very spiritual. I'm into like numerology. My listeners know this. That's why I asked you for your date of birth, right? I'm like all about numerology. And if you're into that, and you know that being an 11, a life path, which is what my life path is the psychic, like the spiritualist. So I just find it really funny. I'm like, oh, God really does has a funny sense of humor. Puts the spiritual person in a nerd's brain. Really, really funny. But I
Maybe
enjoy
you got the
it. I
best of
enjoy
both
it.
worlds.
Huh?
I said maybe you got the best of both worlds.
Hey, I like to perceive it's all about perspective as well, right? Context is decisive, as we say. I like that context because it empowers me. And talking, looping back
Does.
to being empowered and what empowers us, what doesn't empower us. I do agree with the idea that power really lies within us and the 3D model or construct that is around us is very limiting. However, it is the one that we are operating in. And what I've found really fun lately is experimenting um, with the non-physical reality and then seeing my physical reality alter, if that makes sense.
100%. Because that's the bridge. You know, it's the bridge of bringing something in the ether into the reality that we're living in. And if you can't do that, that's like you could be out with the fairies all that you want, but if you can't bridge it back in, your life here will be chaos in a
Yes.
sense, or not necessarily chaos, but kind of it'll be hard to fit in.
Yeah. And also, I find then, again, when you're out there in the ethers for too long, or in the realm of the mind, even, in the realm of the mind and thought and
Mhm.
self-referential phenomena, whatever you want to call that, and you're not in your body, yeah, life becomes not so fun. It becomes
Yeah.
challenging, but also not so fun. I like to keep things fun. So when it's not fun, it's a bit like, oh, well,
Well, I
what's
feel that I love that you like to keep things fun because ultimately, in my view, is the point of this whole existence is to have fun. It is to play. It is to be the joy of the universe, and whoever's watching, so that we can entertain them with that fun lightness, that playfulness. Just like when you have a child, what lights you up probably is seeing that child having fun or doing great things or just doing something creative that they want to do. It's that play that just fills you up. And if it's a play that fills up, because ultimately we are just children in adults' bodies.
right? Oh, I mean, the inner child work journey is also another another whole thing, but we are. Yeah, yeah, I hear you. I hear my own thoughts in your speaking because I just thought about this recently. Like we really are children in adults' bodies, and It's very interesting. Like it's a double-edged sword, that one, because then the lack of maturity, which I'm not saying I'm the most mature person either. I mean, my goodness, really not, really
Mhm.
not. But at the same time, I'm like, wow, thinking about like serious structures in place, authorities, police, judges, and jail and shit like that, and you're like, but we're all children.
Yeah, I mean, we're children. We've got to build something that works, right? Something that we can all feel safe in and that we can all work in. And so, some of those structures are really important.
Absolutely. Yes, yes,
And some
yes.
of them, go too far in the other direction and then become destructive to people, So there's like this balance.
Yeah, what I'm hearing again, I kind of flow in my podcast. I don't have a set of questions, but again, what's coming up for me now is there's this interplay between structure and play, just as there is an interplay between science and spirituality. It's not a duality per se, like black and white per se. Um, However, they're connected, and like one cannot survive or live without the other. There's a fine balance there, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a good thing as well.
Hmm. So tell me about how'd you get into film and like, because that's super creative.
Well,
Uh,
I think, yeah, actually, I had a real love for acting when I was younger. I think acting, I did a little bit of it and it gave me a chance to express myself. And there was something about me growing up that was kind of reserved from sharing who I am. And so acting gave me an ability to do that. And I decided that, when I was like, I think I was like 10, I decided I wanted to be an actor. And I remember my parents saying, oh, in the car, being an actor is really difficult. Only 1 in 1,000 actors ever make it. And in that moment to myself, I made a decision that I would become a director and that I would act in my own movies. That way, like if I'm directing a movie, I can just put myself as an actor. And look, I forgot about that dream and I went traveling and life went on and somehow I ended up going to university, getting a direct degree, doing a bachelor in film production and then making films and then putting myself in them. And I'd forgotten about that thought process that happened when I was younger. It was only later that I connected the dots and said, hey, I actually said that when I was younger, and then it manifested and it happened. And so that led me to film. But really, for me, filmmaking is a way to educate and inspire others through an entertaining and playful way. And I think my love of acting is because there's this realization that with humans, in a sense, we are all actors. I think, and we're all also trying to find authenticity in who we are as well. But there's like almost like a yin and yang there, because it's like, how can you be authentic when you're an actor? And if you're an actor, how can you be authentic? And I think it's the understanding that we are an actor that can give us authenticity to then create and write the character that we want to play out while we're alive, rather than just playing out the script we were given.
yes. Wow. I had a little light bulb moment just then. We are all actors because it's like if you think about spirit, God, source, universe, whatever you want to call that, right?
Let's call it love. I actually just call it love. It's just easier. It's universal. It can fit the religious aspect because of Christianity. It says God is love. In the spiritual world, they say love is God. So it's like, to me, that word is the one that blends the most easily for everybody.
I hear you. I hear you. And I've had some people on the podcast, not challenge that per se, but say that truth is that. But then again, it's hey, wear
Well,
what you feel.
I'd say I'll tell you right now, truth is love, and that's what it is. So
All right, all
love and
right.
truth are the same thing. But it's an unconditional love that a lot of humans don't understand, because a lot of humans, they hear the word love and they go in many different places of like, oh, what about my heartbreak? What about when I lost my love and that hurt me? It's like, but that's not unconditional love. Unconditional love is this beautiful frequency of creation that is creating everything
Mm,
from
mm.
the infinite source, and it does that through the expression of elation. But then that expression of elation can transform into many different things, because joy, as actors in a movie and as children playing these parts in actors, the fun of life is actually in creating different experiences. Like I love filmmaking because it's like I like to make films that inspire and transform people, but other people, their juice is making horror films, right? And that's a creation that they enjoy doing, and a big audience, a massive audience, enjoys watching it,
Yeah.
enjoys watching horror.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why this. Mm.
Sorry. Keep going.
But it's still the joy underneath that's driving all those different creations.
The creative aspect of being human is really a privilege that we often take for granted, but when we don't, it definitely becomes an incredible thing. But going back to God, source, universe, love, truth, whatever the
Yeah.
fuck you subscribe to, being expressed through the skin bag and the conditioning and the neuroscience and the epigenetic and all of it. We are all actors. It's very interesting. And then the neuroplasticity of it, right? This me being a nerd now, but neuroplasticity is like changing, altering your avatar, because you can,
Mhm.
a lot of people, and I say this all the
Your
time.
physical avatar, or you mean like inside the mind avatar? Is that what you mean?
um the character you play,
The
your
character you play.
identity.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because your identity, the person that you know yourself to be, is but a neural loop at the level of neuroscience. It's just a neural circuit that's been playing over and over and over again your whole life. So you think there's a you there, but there's not. It's just it's a neural pathway.
Yeah.
Um, it's a neural pathway is all it is. So it's like if you don't like yourself, this is how people cause transformation or alter habits. Is they create a new neural pathway, which at the level of your brain, you actually grow new neurons that form a loop and create a new habit or a new sense of self,
Hmm.
or a new character. As I have come to understand out of this conversation, is yeah, you can create a new character by growing a new neural pathway. And that's very cool. Again,
Yeah, I think the question is that people have is like, how do you do that?
oh, it's through repetition. So,
Yeah,
firstly,
agree.
identifying what it's like good acting. Let's look at it through that lens,
Mm,
right?
exactly.
You become the character through repetition and literally over and over and over again
You have to
being
learn the
that new.
script. Yeah.
Yeah,
You have to
being.
be able to, you have to be so present that the script just flows through you. It's not, you don't have to think about that line. It just comes in the moment.
Yes, and that's so cool because I've actually interviewed and one of my best friends is an actress. I've interviewed her for this podcast, so this is like a whole different layer. I've also interviewed another film director, so I'm like, this is really interesting. This is really interesting for me now. I'm like, holy shit, I should have become a fucking actor, but it's okay. We're all actors
You
anyway.
are, don't worry about.
I know, right?
You're
That's
just so
okay.
good that you forget sometimes.
Oh, I love that. I really love it. Oh, that's so good. Oh, it's really, really good. And it also feeds into my obsession with numerology, right? Because again, my mind likes to explain it all. So
Mm.
let's look at it through the lens of numerology, right? I'm a life path 11, which is made up of a 3-8. The 3 is the actor, and the 8 is on a global stage. So I'm like, I should have been like my numbers, and they like Madonna is a 38, Michelle Pfeiffer, like anybody who's anybody in the world of creativity, their life path starts with a 3.
Mhm.
So does mine. So I'm like, well, I could have been an actor, but what you just said is like, well, I am. It's so
Yeah,
fun.
so tell me more about this numerology. Like, why is it so powerful for you? And I've heard a lot about it, and I've had I did a podcast the other day with someone, and he did a quick numerology
Mm.
reading on me very quickly in the car after the podcast, and yeah, it's very accurate in what he said.
How
So
interesting.
I find it very interesting, but I know very little about it.
It's super. Yeah, me too. I mean, me too. And in that, I found it very interesting, and then I dug into it and took a course and took a this and that. And one of my really good friends is a master numerologist, and she happened to be my doula, so we had a lot of close interactions when I was pregnant and postpartum. So she kind of really inspired me. And to me, what is attractive is, again, it's because it bridges something that's very logical, like numbers,
Hmm.
math, numbers, statistics, like there's a number there. It's factual to energy, because ultimately numerology is energy in the form of numbers. Like there's an energy behind every number. So as a spiritual neuroscientist, it's like it's obsessive for me because I can then link all the woo with tangible numbers. And when I start, and it's also like a language, the more I started learning about it, the more fluent you become in that language. Just like neuroscience, just like acting, just like directing. It's a language, isn't it? In
Mm.
its proper expression. So numbers start showing up to me, like the universe has started to show up to me in numbers. Yeah, not
Yeah,
just not
I
just
get a lot of.
license,
Mhm.
yeah, not just license plates 888-333 type. Whoops, hang on, did I just leave?
No, no,
Oh
you're
no.
still here.
Okay, cool. I just swiped something on my screen, but like it just presents itself in form of numbers. That's how it communicates to me. That's very, very clear to me. Like again, I'd love to be able to see passed over loved ones and be a medium in some sense, but I'm not. I literally communicate with the universe in the form of numbers and other ways like claircognizance in my dreams, all of that stuff too. But the one that I've really enjoyed exploring is the world of numerology, and it's very accurate. Numbers don't lie.
Yeah, well, I guess truth doesn't lie, right? And
Yeah.
and I guess numbers is just a way to read parts of the universe, and it's a language that I don't fully understand. So even though I get a disconnection with numbers, I do see certain numbers frequently, and I see that people are looking at my life and looking at numbers and making conclusions that actually have an accuracy to them. I guess my way of is that words are very similar. Like the whole language of speaking and words are also uh, an expression of the infinite in creation, and the one that everybody understands, everybody uses, everybody knows. And but however, we don't necessarily use those words to create reality. We often use those words to describe reality, and then get caught up in the description of reality, and then it can block our ability to use our imagination and the this energy that's flowing through us to actually change, transform, upgrade, play around with the play-doh of reality.
Totally. I mean, you said a lot there, and I feel like words are limiting, and then there's nonverbal people, and then there's telepathy, like the telepathy tapes, and which is super popular. But then feeling into people's energies, like we are two energy fields interacting right now, right? In the non-physical realms, if you will. Um, so languaging this interaction, yeah, it's kind of universal, but at the same time, what about deaf people? They can't hear us, but maybe they
Yeah.
can feel us. Like it's vast. It is vast, but the descriptive part of language is interesting. Etymology is interesting. I've been listening to this guy deconstruct a lot of words like money, and I'm a French speaker as well as a Russian speaker, so I'm like, holy shit, money is literally my eye, where my attention span goes, or things like just the world of finances, like it's all about maritime, like money stream, right? The stream or the bank, river bank. Like I'm just like, it's very interesting, very, very interesting language.
Yeah. You could get caught up in there for hours, just kind of looking at different words and seeing the interesting how the English language alone is built, let alone other languages. And that's why I wish I had access to other languages like you do, because I think that just opens up another part of the mind. The more languages we understand and know.
It is. And again, neuroplasticity, right? You can learn it by practicing it. And just to debunk the 21-day rule, it's not 21 days to create a form new habit or 40 days, whatever the fuck people say. That's an absolute myth. All our brains are different. It'll take you however long it takes you, which is why for some people they can just quit smoking after years and years and years, whereas for others it takes forever and ever and ever to grow a new neural pathway for no, I'm not picking up that thing. It depends on the person.
Yeah, it depends on the person. It depends on probably also how deep their conditioning is around that addiction or whatever the thing is they're trying to change.
Yes, the environment, which is where I bridge neuroplasticity with epigenetics, how our environment impacts us at the level of our DNA. And I always say it's 90% environment, 10% genetics. So our environment, as you said, the condition, whether it's our social environment, physical, literally physical environment, spiritual environments, like, hey,
Yeah.
fill
So
in the blank. Yeah, that impacts us at and when you're in a favorable environment that supports your transformation, which is underlined by a new neural pathway, uh, it happens a lot quicker.
but maybe if, see, this is interesting because maybe a favorable environment to have that transformation is actually a negative environment. Because within a negative environment or say a dark soul experience, that's when you actually are kind of forced into an upgrade because the
Yeah.
pressure becomes so much that at some point the pressure becomes so much that at some point you actually let go and you actually say, I can't do this anymore. And in this letting go and becoming kind of nothing for a moment, something arises within you, and that something causes a tremendous upgrade or transformation. And I would suggest that the only real upgrade is that something, is the connection with that something. Everything else kind of is more just slightly moving around, but it's only until you kind of let that intangible spirit in do you actually have a full upgrade, a full transformation.
It's an interesting view. I got caught on the word negative because, again, negative positive is such a filter that we listen through. So, when you said negative, a lot of people may be like, oh, well, negative. Unpleasant doesn't necessarily mean negative, but yeah, a lot of diamonds are formed in the rough, that's for sure. Um, and
Yeah,
it,
well, the negative and positive is just a viewpoint, but I guess in terms of language, we all kind of seem to agree that a negative experience is something that makes us feel like shit. Anything that's making us feel bad, we tend to label as negative, and anything that tends to make us feel good, we tend to label as positive.
yeah.
And so when I say negative, I mean just anything that is making us really low in our vibration and in our feeling.
Mm. I hear you. I hear you. And
But
again,
not that it's wrong. It's just a description.
yeah, yeah. And like getting back to the science of it, the epigenetic side, right? Like the environment that shapes our um transformation or the neural pathway that underlies a certain transformation is
Mm.
vital in the research that I've done and the like just my experience as well. Like, like create a new possibility and surround yourself with people that empower you in living that possibility is ultimately the epigenetics factor.
Yeah, it's so you're right, it's so powerful, and especially in our upbringing, it's like the most powerful thing that kind of gets us in a journey where at some level people feel stuck because they're so conditioned by that environment that they were brought up in, that then those mental programmings feel kind of very solid and connected. And there is a point where you can get to a level where you're so conscious, so super conscious, I'd say, and so in that ability to create and change that neuroplasticity in terms of a sense of a calmed, relaxed state, but also consciousness to actually change your thinking, change your thought process, change your beliefs, change everything, that it doesn't matter what environment you're put in. You, instead of the environment having such a strong influence on you, you actually start to change it so that you're starting to have a strong influence on the environment. And
Yeah,
that to me is the transformation. That's the crossing over this thing where we're so conditioned by our environment that we're now actually transforming the environment. And
yeah.
that to me is empowerment.
It's very powerful. I do yeah, I can see what you're saying and it is very powerful. That's right. When you, as you said, have caused a transformation or have transformed, that then you bring this 3D thing, like your body,
Yeah.
um, and alter the environment around you. It is very powerful.
I'll
And
give
talk
you
about
just to
that.
make it grounding for you. I'll give you a description of where you do it. You know, like for instance, you were in the self development world a lot, and you were brought into the self development world. When you were first brought into the self development world, you were moved and inspired by the people that were teaching you. But then you got so kind of connected to that, what you learned, that then now you were actually going out into the world as a teacher and you were actually impacting the students. So you went through
Yeah,
the shift of being
totally.
very influenced to now becoming very influential.
Yes, yes, no, I hear you. When the student becomes the teacher, it's very cool. It's very, very cool. And it's like,
Mhm.
it's interesting because then there has to be an environment to speak into. So there's definitely an interplay. Uh, and yeah, there's definitely getting back to the interplay
Yeah. The
between
play.
one thing and another. Yeah. Okay. But okay, so let me ask you this. So when you were 30, when you went through the Big Bang, what happened in that sense of the awakening process? What happened?
Okay, I'll give you a very, because I could drag that story on, so I'll try to make it very quick. I was there was a dense depression, like very heavy, like that, you know, the dark night of the soul, the heaviest I'd ever been in terms of not only was I filled with darkness, I was kind of filled with anger and hate at the same time as being very depressed. I wanted others to feel depressed. I remember that. It's not like I in a negative way, but I just couldn't help it. You know, it was just this kind of dark thing just eating me up inside. And things were just not going right in my life. And I was lying in bed and I was praying that God would just take my life and really hoping that I just could close my eyes and I just wouldn't wake up. And I remember doing that, closing my eyes and holding my breath. It's really interesting because breath work's so powerful. Anyway, in the process of holding my breath to transcend, you know, to leave my body, some energy source came into my body and started, you know, those like things that go on your heart that kind of pump your heart back to life, like
Defibrillator, yeah.
defibrillator. Yeah, yeah. I felt like there was a defib on my chest. My body actually jumped into spasms and I had like electrical shocks happening. I didn't know what was going on, but I remember literally jumping like this on the bed every couple of seconds. And then all of a sudden I had an out of body experience where in my mind's eye, I floated above my body and I could see it was really, it's hard to describe, but I could see my body and my mind surrounded and I could see my thoughts more very clearly. And the thoughts were surrounding me and they were kind of just like, they were just kind of all around me. And I looked at myself and I remember thinking in that moment from above, holy shit. Like, no wonder I'm so dark and negative. I'm swimming in a swamp of these thoughts that aren't even mine. Like, I don't know where I picked up all these shitty ideas from, but I'm swimming in this swamp. And anyone who had these thoughts is going to be feeling the way I'm feeling. And then when I returned back to my body, there was kind of just this little kind of silent peace inside me. And I remember getting up, walking to the mirror and just looking at myself in the mirror. And I just realized, well, if I could make myself that depressed and that miserable and that sad and that heavy and that much of a burden on others in terms of darkness, could I go the other way? Could I become the happiest person alive? And a shift happened in that moment and the depression went away. And now it was just a process of building up this joyful person from nothing. But in a sense, I now realize that the joy is actually always there. The joy is underneath is underneath everything. It is the creative force of life, and that's where
Yeah.
everything comes from. And the more and the closer and more the realization and the more connected to that you get, the more peace, joy, and the fruits of the spirits you could say start to fill your life. And that's where everything becomes more beautiful and abundant.
Mm. Yeah,
And so
thanks for
for
bringing that. Thanks for bringing it into the presence. It's like it's hard to say anything after that. That's when words really are useless. Um,
Yeah, well, I think for the like the for me it was like the big shift is really getting in that moment of getting clear of what I wanted. Like, what do you want? And if you go around, a lot of people out there are feeling lost in the world. And if you go up to 9 out of 10 people and you actually ask them what is it that you really want, most people can't tell you. Like, or they'll have to think about it. You know, but if we are the writers and directors of a movie and we're writing out a script, what we want should be so clear to us that it's like what I said before, an actor just speaks the words into existence. It's like you should just know what you want. When you do, there's a kind of the power of life can take over and move into the creation of that. And
mhm.
but the first step is knowing what that is. And I think a lot of people don't know that they want joy, and that's why they create chaos because they like drama too. Everybody loves drama. Well, most people love drama. I don't.
Again, bringing it to the world of acting. I love that drama. Yep, 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 yep. So cool. And I love the synchronicity because I'm gonna interview like a close friend next about OBEs and NDEs, near-death experiences, out-of-body experience. And you just described one, so I mean, you not didn't describe one, you shared your experience. Um, so that's really cool. I'm really into it. I've been for a while. I was listening to NDEs and OBEs before going to bed, just because that's how fucking
Interesting,
obsessed.
right?
Yeah, I was so obsessed. I was really interested, and there's a similarity between some experiences. Some people see the life review, that's like a very popular one, and other people have their special iterations of it. And then there's what you described, like witnessing the thought, the realm of the mind, whatever you want to call it, like that you can see and visualize, and then in your case, act accordingly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. I mean, with all your study and all your understanding and all your research of the near-death experience, what do you actually think happens when you die?
Oh, you get connected to source or love, truth, or unconditional love. Fill in the blank of how you want to call it. You get connect to it. You're in the presence of it. You experience the fact that you are it and everything else is an illusion. So then when you come back, you're like, what game have I been playing? And then, and then
Yeah,
that's
it's so cool because I think the beauty of that, right? Like, for instance, if you get connected to that infinite source of life, it's like you said, but then you get sent back. Why do you get sent back? So you can go and play again, right? And so it's almost like the forgetting where we come from and who we are is part of the game, because once you can live in this experience and play out this experience knowing who you are, like fully knowing it, fully connected to it, it's like there's everything else just becomes kind of fun after that. It's not like there's nothing I have to do, there's nothing I need to do, there's nothing I need to prove. The only thing there is what do I want to do? What do I want to create? What game do I want to play?
yeah. It's such a
And
yeah.
and maybe if there is one need, it's not, I wouldn't say it's a need, but it's kind of a truth, is maybe make the world a little bit brighter and a little bit better, because that's the expression of where I actually come from.
That's it, sharing it with others and letting, I mean, in my case, like through the Neurospiritual Awakening podcast, right? I'm literally sharing all of this with other people because of that quote unquote need. Like,
Because
my
of the
God.
need.
Yeah, like it's not necessarily a need, but it's like a passion. It's like a passion. Like, if I tap into the source and like you did in that OBE, and I just want to share it with people. And that seems to be the case with all the OBs and NDs that I've listened to. People come back and they're like on a mission. Like, fuck, I have to share this thing. Not the way that I said it now, but there's this passion, this spark, like in people. It's really cool. Yeah,
Yeah, well, passion is the joy of life.
it can be.
Yeah, I heard a really, I did hear a really cool. saying, I don't know if I can describe this right, but it was like, it's like there's this, the idea is when you kind of reach your purpose or something is to kind of, it's like during the day, you act like what you're doing is the most important thing in the world. But when you go to sleep at night, you know that it really doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't matter. And there's kind of like a dance between this kind of acceptance of everything that is and also this process of trying to transform everything into a world that you really want.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the and the joy between having those two come together and not letting them to get too off balance.
Getting back, it's like a major theme in this interview, the balance between the two, committed but not attached, right? The
Community but not attached,
commitment
exactly.
being like fully committed, like, my life's on the line for causing this transformation in the world. And when I go to bed, I'm not attached.
And to be honest, I feel like the beauty of it is it doesn't really matter if you get fully committed and attached, or if you get completely unattached and not committed at all. Like to me, it doesn't matter anymore. Like it just is what it is. It's like, and that's the beauty of it. There's a peace with whatever we choose. But it's like, but the only thing that matters is to me, what do you want? Like, when you get to the core of what do you want, deep down, everybody wants to express and experience this true energy in their own unique way,
Mm.
which is what you're doing here with this podcast and with what, all the stuff that you learned in neuroscience and now what you're discovering in a whole new realm and what you've learned there as well. So it's like, good idea for connecting with your passion and for bridging it into the world and making the world a bit better in the process of doing it. But
Hey,
ultimately, I could see the fun in your eyes and the playfulness and the joy of it.
that's right. It's fun for me, but yeah, I got the acknowledgement and likewise. And tell me what, so where are you at now? Like, okay, so this movie, this big endeavor from Depression with Love, of course, I love the title, being a neuroscientist, also being Russian. Talk
All
about
right,
a
yeah.
very,
That was
talk about a
actually, yeah,
very, talk about
true.
a very, very, attractive title, um, or name. But, yeah, so now that this baby's out, so to speak, tell me a little bit more. Like, tell me, so what you're writing the book, you're gonna do this book, like, what, what next?
Well, yeah, it's kind of like, as I said, like, it's not like I've been super intentional about how everything kind of goes in my life, but it does kind of feel like this guidance is guiding things. Like I just have intention on what's next. And then this kind of, it's kind of like what Steve Jobs said, you can't connect the dots looking forward, but once you get there, you can connect them all looking back. And I feel like that's where I'm at now. I'm starting to see like, oh, wow, all these dots are connecting. And I had no idea what was going on in that process, but somehow it's all working out. And that is really how I felt with my book. Like when I had this book, The Cocoon, took me 20 years to write. Like I literally started writing it when I was 21, even earlier. And I didn't know I was writing a book back then. I was just like dealing with my own shit and writing out things that could help me in the moment. Because in those moments of darkness, it would open me up to having this flash of inspiration and I'd write it all down. And then I realized later I was going to write a book and still it didn't, took me like 5 or 10 years to actually get started on it. And then I credit the book, got all these writings and I have no idea where the book's going to go, how it's going to work. And then slowly, this book just kind of like to me, a masterpiece just unfolded from these random thoughts that kind of all interconnected and made sense. And personally for me, it's like writing the book just gave me so much more joy and so much more bliss because I'm taking all these kind of spiritual truths, wisdoms and insights and ingraining them in my being. So
Mm.
that is what I'm super passionate about now is getting the book out there and sharing it with the world because it's I was just doing some stats before we came on this interview. And because when I started that documentary on depression, it was 1 in 10 people were on some form of antidepressants. Now it's 1 in 7 in Australia. which
Dude,
is
it's 1 in 4. It's one
well,
in
I'm
four.
just look. I don't know. I'm just going on the research that I'm finding. Maybe it's even if it's 1 in 4. If you say it's 1 in 4, you probably have more knowledge and insight than me, and that's even worse. And then I was also looking at like suicide rates. Not not to bring it down from this, but in between the ages of like 15 and I think 40 something, it's the highest killer in Australia. It's which is like to me that's bizarre and crazy and something that needs attention and
Yes.
and we've created a society which is you call the environment that is feeding this. I don't want to use the word
Stat.
negative, huh?
This this statistic that's, yeah, that's unfolding, but the environment, the condition, yeah, it's a condition. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're part of that environment. Like you and me right now are part of that environment, and every conversation that we have out in the world is part of that environment. And so, and the book that I'm writing is part of the transformation of that environment. And I just see that this world is so magnificent. It's so beautiful. People are so amazing, and they don't even know it. They're just they literally are the light of the world. And I want people to know that so that they can be free of this bullshit thing that really, I would say, depression, the underlying thing is this deep sense of unworthiness within themselves. And I want people to know how worthy that they are of infinite love and to allow themselves to be filled with it. And so they can enjoy their life to the fullest.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's what
I
I'm
love that.
passionate about
That's,
moving on to next.
so that's what you're currently passionate about and writing, the book about and fucking directing films about. I mean, it's incredible. I went to see that film and like when you interviewed me, I had no idea. Again, I had no idea that I was going to go through my dark night of the soul after that fucking interview. And also looking back on that interview, I'm like, yeah, that's still me. And that's not me anymore because I'm a new character now, right? Neuroplasticity. But also it's all tied in and like, and also how impactful that film. Like, so amazing. I'm still like, everybody, obviously, we're going to put all this stuff in the details under the interview, but like, wow. So impactful. So I find it amazing that you can find the joy in that sort of self-expression and have it be so impactful. I think that that's what I'm into. That's what lights me up. That's what's attractive to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that's like the super gift is when you can actually, to me, there's only one trick to life. And, it's actually summed up in the Bible in the two commandments, the two main commandments that Jesus gave his followers when they said, what is the thing to get into heaven? And it was to love your neighbor as you love yourself and to love God with all your heart, mind, and soul. And to me, the only like if God is the creator of the universe, then the expression of God is inside of everything and everyone and every crazy shit that's going on in the world, and even the good, the bad, the right, the wrong, the negative, the positive, the dark, and the light. And so, how can you love all of that with all your heart, mind, and soul? The things that you think are even wrong, and if you can do that, then you've mastered your life because you also love yourself with all your heart, mind, and soul. You love all of it with your heart, mind, and soul. There's nothing left to do after that because there's an old saying that we didn't come here to fix the world or save the world. We came here to love it. And to me, that's where the actual transformation is. It's that love that we are graced with, that is a gift, that is not even something that we actually created. It's just something that gave us existence. And that's how worthy we are.
Yes. Yes. Oh, that's all I'll say.
Sorry, I pushed it to the woo-woo side. That's what I do.
That's fine. Hey, I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that. I just can't say anything after else what you just said. That's okay. We can just leave it there. We can just leave it
Yeah,
there, right? Food for thought, everybody. Go home.
I'm good because good timing too.
Yeah, food for thought. And there's well, I'll say one thing. There's just um the brain and our capacity given our brain is somewhat limited. So some of the notions, as you know, that we love to talk about and explore in this podcast, cannot necessarily be understood with the human brain, mind, and language into words. So I appreciate our attempt in doing so, but you know, some things can be just left in the ethers, and hopefully people can. I'll use this term that I've never used before. Understand what we're saying.
And they will understand it from their own unique, beautiful lens. And
Yes.
that's the beauty of it.
So good. Hey, so fun. I really love talking to you and this like the and finding this balance and the tension, and it's been super fun. So just thank you, thank you, thank you.
And I've
Um
enjoyed it as well. It's so good.
and
So glad you invited me to do this. So thank you too.
absolutely. And thanks to the listeners as always. Love, share, subscribe, send this to everybody. You never know whose life you'll contribute to. And I'll pop all the details for Sean and everything that he's up to below. Um, and until we see each other again, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.